thanks for being here. People are still coming in. This is great. You never know how many people are going to show up. And I will say that this is going to be a lightning fast 25 minutes. Like, hi, Cassie. So I may or may not sound like an auctioneer, but this is so hard to choose something when you're talking about Google Chrome and how to pull things out, when this is something I'll do for like an all-day training or a few hours or an hour or something, and we're condensing that into 25 minutes. So bear with me. So what I've done for the next 25 minutes, I pulled out some things that I felt would be, that I typically work with students in our state, just some very like the basic things, the accommodations that work for them, especially when it comes to reading and writing. And there are, just so you know, there are tons of things that I could show you. So feel free to reach out to me anytime. But we are going to get started. On this first slide, there is the session notes link that was posted on the schedule for this conference. And I'll make sure that I put the link to the handout on that as well. But you'll have the link at the end to get you started. So don't panic. If it goes fast, you're going to have this handout. So don't worry. Hopefully today you're just going to identify 3 types of reading, and you're going to be able to demonstrate at least 5 ways to support literacy and comprehension using Google Chrome tools. And that's a lot in 25 minutes. Someone gave me the advice to just pretend it's Twitter and just go as fast as you can. You could probably already tell by my playlist at the beginning, I am so laid back. So for this housekeeping part, I'm getting ready to go over, I'm just gonna talk about it now. Feel free to turn your cameras on. Feel free to unmute yourself and just start chatting and ask questions at any time. I am completely fine with that. You do whatever makes you the most comfortable. Hi, Melissa. I like seeing your face. So let's see. So yeah, the chat, ask questions, super laid back. And then, so I am Kelli Suding. I work for the Patins Project here in Indiana. So we're the nonprofit education agency that provides services for all public K through 12 schools. And so all of our trainings are at no cost for Indiana educators. So I do a lot of professional development. I'm also in a lot of classrooms, or I was in a lot of classrooms working with teachers and students one-on-one, but that's kind of gone right now. But this is me. And so we have 8 specialists with the Patins Project in Indiana. So I'm one of them, and I specialize in autism, specific learning differences, the Google Chrome accessibility, and then accessible education materials and assistive technology integration. So I do support a lot of students with dyslexia and obviously with autism. And it's just, I basically find ways for access and removing barriers for those students, no matter what they have going on. My background is general ed and special ed, and I loved being in the classroom so much, but I absolutely love my job now. And I'm trying to do my best. I'm typically the one who does a lot of trainings in person. So we've kind of been pushed forward into creating webinars. So I try to just pretend we're all just sitting around having popcorn, talking AT, geeking out. And so I'm super laid back. So just, you ask me anything that you need. And if you have something that you want to contribute in that chat box, it takes a village. You just add what you use in there as well. So you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow the Patins Project on Facebook or Twitter as well. So I just want to know who's feeling like this right now.
This man right here is my great-grandfather. He was the first cat herder in our family.
Herding cats. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy.
Anybody can herd cattle. Holding together 10,000 half-wild short hairs, well, that's another thing altogether.
Being a cat herder is probably about the toughest thing I think I've ever done.
I got this one this morning, right here. And if you look at his face, it's just ripped to shreds, you know?
You see the movies, you hear the stories, I'm living a dream. Not everyone can do what we do.
I wouldn't do nothing else.
It ain't an easy job, but when you bring a herd into town and you ain't lost a one of them, ain't a feeling like it in the world.
Oh my gosh, the fact that someone in the chat box put that they subbed 3 years in gym class and they can relate is hilarious. I am just saying that. So yes, we are all feeling that way. We went to being into the classroom, supporting our students to oh my gosh, what do I do now? And then you're bombarded with all these different links and try this and all these resources. And it's really difficult, but I promise you that we can wrangle all of our, our cats in a way that's accessible to them. And these are just, so, and it's just by some things that, some things I'll show you as that students can continue to be independent in their learning. So accessibility and distance learning, this is where we're at. And again, like I told you at the beginning, it's really hard to pick a few things, but I'm going to do it, people. I'm going to do it. So we're going to talk about just overcoming barriers. So I love this visual so much, but I'm going to focus on the students who perhaps don't necessarily look like they have a learning difference, but maybe they struggle with reading and writing. Maybe they're below reading level and below grade level. And so how can they be supported at home during distance learning that they can still be independent? So again, I just want to keep reiterating, these are the tools that I'm going to focus on. So, and offering accommodations versus modifications. So before we go any further, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page about the meaning of this. So accommodations are, it doesn't change the curriculum at all. So this would be maybe some sort of like assistive technology like text to speech would be an accommodation for students to be able to be an auditory reader and have access to grade level curriculum. So that text to speech would be the accommodation. What I really feared is when we went into continuous learning that we would start modifying our materials for our students because we're not with our students any longer. So they're not really getting that, maybe that one-on-one support or being able to sit down with them in groups and get that support. So, and that you're basically changing the curriculum. The goal is completely changing. But with technology now, and for a while, I could get on my soapbox about that whole conversation, but there's really no reason that a student cannot access grade level curriculum if in fact that's where they can comprehend. It's just a matter of finding that appropriate accommodation. So we're going to keep moving forward on that. I'm starting to talk like that auctioneer. I told you, I'm panicking already. So decoding the content and interacting and responding with the content are all different skill sets. So basically, what I mean is you can have a junior in high school who is independent reading level, or their ability to code could be at first grade level, but then their comprehension level is at grade level or beyond. So those are two different skill sets. So comprehension level versus a decoding level. Again, those are completely different skill sets. So with that appropriate combination at that comprehension level, students can absolutely access grade level curriculum. And you could tell I talk about it a lot on my soapbox. So, and thinking of that with the tools in Google Chrome and the different ways of reading. So we have visual readers, we have tactile readers and auditory readers. So thinking of as maybe with a student with dyslexia who really benefits from audio books. So they're an auditory reader, they're reading with their ears. And we could have a whole conversation about whether this is cheating or not, and I do a whole session on how accommodations are not cheating. But in thinking of just different ways of reading, I love that the definition at the International Literacy Association, the definition of literacy, and it says visual, audible, and digital. And I think that's really important. And I have a lot of special ed teachers who will grab that definition when they're having conversations perhaps with gen ed teachers. So it's really important just to identify those different ways of reading. So, but it's not always obvious. Sometimes what's obvious are the behaviors that we're seeing from our students because they feel like they can't do it, but they don't want to admit that they can't do it. It takes a lot of courage for a student to be able to say, I'm sorry, but I cannot read the directions to this math test. So the alternative is often they will have a behavior. So it's not always obvious. So when we are setting them up for success and thinking of the principles of universal design for learning and having all of our instruction accessible to them, that could absolutely alleviate that. And then they can explore ways and figure out what type of learner that they are. And we can do that by removing barriers with assistive technology. So again, that's our text to speech, that's our speech to text, that's our word prediction, that's our visuals, that's all of these different things that benefit our students for sure. The first thing is, and I think Mike Murata is doing a session on built-in accessibility settings, which I love because I could spend a lot of time on that. We are getting bombarded with all of these different resources. So I just want to make sure the first thing that you could go to are the accessibilities of your Chromebook or your Mac or your PC or your iOS device, because there's all these wonderful accommodations that are already built in to them. So I just want to make sure that I just mention that, because I do have an understanding that all of those settings are in there, and some of them do work for students, but then some of them don't. So we have to just find multiple ways for them to be able to access independently. Sometimes it's the built-in settings, sometimes it's an app or an extension. So, and when we're doing this distance learning, and thinking about the students that I work with, is just having focus can be very, very difficult. So when you're screen sharing, I always recommend just customizing your cursor in some way. And that could just be enlarging your cursor. I will say that this extension that you have this link to, this is a custom cursor, which is super fun. So you can make like lightsabers. I'm a huge Star Wars geek, so you can have lightsabers, food. I love food too. I told some of my colleagues that I was going to change mine to a slice of pizza. So then I would see pizza all day, and then I wouldn't want to eat it, but it didn't work. So I turned that off. But think about ways you can customize your cursor to help those students just keep that focus while they are engaged with you when you are maybe doing your online meetups somehow, whether it's Zoom or Google Meet, but also for students with low vision, that's also going to benefit. But just think about a different way to engage your students by a simple thing like the cursor. And then I keep talking about accessibility and how students can access text independently, but it has to be accessible. So there are different ways to check if text is accessible or not. So I just have a few, just a real quick screenshot here about how I do that. So if you are uploading like a PDF into your learning management system, and you're sharing out materials with your students, a quick way to check to see if a screen reader or a text reader will identify that text, just highlight over some of the text. And if it doesn't highlight like you see here with my name, then it is not accessible, which means a screen reader, a text reader is unable to identify the text, and it will not speak those words for auditory readers. So that's really important to make sure that they are accessible. So I'm getting distracted by the chat box. I'm trying to keep up, people, but again, this is crazy fast. So we're going to check that. But within Google, if you didn't know, there are ways to do that. So built in within Google Chrome, it already has OCR built in, or optical character recognition. So I don't know how it works, and I don't question it. I just think it's magic, and don't question it. You don't want to mess it up, but it's gonna tell you if there's a picture of a monkey on a page, or if there's text on there. And let me show you what I mean by that. So I have uploaded into my Google Drive. You're gonna see I have this document. So I want my students to read this, and then they're going to answer questions. But my students' decoding is maybe lower than what this text is, so they need to have this in auditory and audio format. So I have it here, and so that's the step. I've uploaded it to my Google Drive, and so this is the built-in part. When you right-click on your image in your Google Drive, and you open with, and then you're going to select Google Docs, and this is where it's going to start doing that magic that you don't question. Don't question it. Just be happy when it happens. So it right now is saying, oh, is there a monkey on this page, or is there a text on this document? It's going to come up for me right now, which typically it already comes up, so it makes me panic. Here we go. What I do like about Google Docs built-in OCR is that it keeps the original image at the top, because when you do OCR, sometimes you get a lot of weird things coming out of it that's going to need some edits, like some really weird things, especially when you're working with graphs or something like that. So now you can see all of this text down here is editable. And it's editable, and I have read write Google extension already on my toolbar, and I'm going to click that open. So now for my auditory readers, all I have to do is hit play.
Reading comprehension worksheet. Read the passage.
So
then choose the best answer.
So just like that, I've taken a picture of a document, I've uploaded, it's pulled out the text, and now it's accessible for my auditory readers. This is what you should be giving to your students. I would certainly show them how to do this, but just in creating your own instruction, I would do this first for them. If you cannot find out where that document was originally digitally built, you can do something like that. So this is one piece, text to speech for our students who are struggling readers. This is absolutely going to improve comprehension. The highlighting piece is going to support that comprehension as well, and it's going to improve those literacy skills. So that's the one thing that I pulled out of this really long session that I wish I was doing. That's in 25 minutes. So another piece that for students who are struggling is speech to text. So if you want to really get to know your students and be able to get their thoughts fluidly on paper, or just out, not necessarily on paper, but in Google Docs, it has built-in voice typing. So all I have to do is go to Tools, Voice Typing. So if I had some questions here and I needed my student to respond, but then the typing piece is where they get lost. This is where the part they may struggle. I'm just going to click to speak. Hi, I'm starting to talk really fast, but I'm so happy that my speech to text is working, and I turned it off. So just like that, I've used speech to text. I've have text to speech, and I'm already, this is already becoming very accessible to me as a learner who may struggle with reading and certainly writing. So my third thing that I absolutely feel that is beneficial for students is word prediction as well. When we're thinking about writing, word prediction. So this is, I have this Chrome extension. Let me go back to the slide so you can see what it looks like. So this is word prediction, and it's Clearo Read. And there are tons and tons of resources that I love that are really robust, but they're not necessarily free, which is fine. But during these times, I really wanted to show you some things that are no cost that maybe your that students and parents can automatically have right now, if districts aren't in a position now to be able to purchase that. So Clearo Read has, and it's an extension I've already downloaded, and it has word prediction. And you can see this toolbar over here is just following me. So if I wanted to type in something, let's see, like dog, and you see that some little picture dictionary also is popping up as well. So it's dog. Word prediction is also giving me that feedback. If I want to type in food, and it's going to give the students that auditory feedback, which is going to be really helpful. So Clearo Speak, this is the free version that has word prediction, and a lot of people don't know because it's called Clearo Read, and you wouldn't think that word prediction is built in there. But I love Read Write for Google. Yeah, Cheryl, I mean, is putting in some things. Yeah, I am with you. All of that. Read Write for Google Word Prediction, is it more robust? It's just different. It's just a different way to access it. So just try them out. You can get the free version for teachers with the Read Write for Google. But again, I have like guilt for all of these other things I'm not showing you. But speech to text, text to speech, OCR we've done, and then highlighting. So I love this extension called Super Simple Highlighter. Working with students who maybe with thinking about executive functioning skills and having to organize online content can be very, very, very difficult, especially with highlighting. So this is a simple extension, and I have several that I love to scaffold them to be able to even get to this part of being able to pull out the key points. But so what you have to do is, all I have to do is highlight something that I want to take notes on. So I'm just highlighting. Chimpanzees and then I'm going to right click. First, I'm going to remove my Clearo Read before it starts taking over everything. Turn that off. Okay, so I've highlighted, and all I have to do is right click on Super Simple Highlighter, and I'm just going to click a color that I chose. Okay, so there's red, and then this makes sense to me. I need this in my notes as well. I'm going to right click, get on my highlighter, and maybe I need this one yellow for whatever makes sense to me. So as I'm highlighting articles, when my student closes out their Chrome browser and they come back the next day, all they have to do is click on their extension, that Super Simple Highlighter. They're going to click on it, and then these are all of the highlights that I have highlighted in that article, which is amazing because now it's not going to get lost out there. And I know that Snap and Read with Don Johnston, I love that. They do something like this as well, but this is just a free extension that works. And I also love this because it has auditory feedback. Chimpanzees are highly social. So I love that. So they're never lost. And these are going to remain highlighted on this chimpanzee article until the day that I delete them. So every day, click on my Super Simple Highlighter. All the highlights are going to be organized for my students right there. So I love that so much. And this extension is called Helper Bird. It has a tons of things that I could keep talking about, but I'm just going to show you two really cool things that I really appreciate about Helper Bird. And so one is, let's see, I'm going to click on it. And then it's going to have all of these options for tons. You're going to see tons of different things, but I'm going to show you the things it has in the free version. So I could change the font of anything online. So let's just say a student benefits from Open Dyslexic. Some students are a fan, some are not. You can change all of these different fonts, even in Google Docs. You can see there's even an ASL font, which is pretty wild. It's pretty chaotic, but it's super cool. And then, but it has built-in immersive reader. So if you are a fan of immersive reader, Microsoft immersive reader for students who with specific learning differences, this just makes me so happy. All you have to do is to open up immersive reader is I'm just going to copy some text that I want to read, and then I go to Helper Bird and I want to open it up with immersive reader. You check on my time. Okay, I've got 5 minutes, people. This is going to get crazy. So here is immersive reader, and so an option here, you can see I can read it.
Chimpanzees are great.
Okay, so now I'm an auditory reader. I love the settings in immersive reader. So you can see we can change all the fonts, colors and everything, but I really love this part. The syllables can be spaced out, which is awesome. I love the part where you can highlight the nouns, different colors, the verbs, adjectives. This makes me so happy for our struggling readers. And then also it has a picture dictionary. So there you go. So that's immersive reader that's built in to Helper Bird, but immersive reader in itself with Microsoft Word Online is just amazing. So that's something to definitely check out. Again, I'm having guilt because I want to show you all of these things, but I can't. Rewordify, most of you have probably heard of Rewordify, but just quickly, it's just a way, it's not a modification, it's a combination that just takes text and gives them something in simpler terms. So this is what I mean. This is going to be super fast, and I'm just going to move on. Rewordify, all you have to do is open it up. I'm going to copy and paste this link to my chimpanzees, copy, and then paste it into Rewordify, and then Rewordify page text. So now everything that's highlighted in yellow has been simplified a little bit, but the goal is the same. It's still the same content. So, and it gives you auditory feedback. Bonobos was the word, but now they've changed it to small chimpanzees. And you can also go into Rewordify and change the lexile level as well. So think about that. That could be a game changer for a lot of our students for sure, by using something simple like that. I know I end up doing huge distractions myself when I'm looking at articles, like, you know, I'm looking at Grammarly over here. I'm like, oh yeah, what's new with Grammarly? And I'd click on that. So our students do the same thing. So I just have an extension, and all it does is takes out all the busy. So it's Mercury Reader. It looks like a little rocket. And now the same article has all of those ads. They're just gone. So you could save this as a PDF and share maybe this resource with your students without all of that busy anyway, already on there. Go ahead and do that first. I'm missing a lot of things in the chat, but I promise I will get to it because I have 2 minutes. I'm going to strangle Mike Murata for only giving us 25 minutes. So I love this. Audio, verbal responses. So yes, you can do a reader with Mercury Reader. So video responses. This is Alice Keeler's Webcam Recorder. Again, if you want to get to know what your students know, let them give you verbal responses. So I'm going to hit start, and I have the Snapchat camera installed on my Mac. You can install this on your device as well because it's really fun to have verbal responses. As some, I'll see, like I'm an ice cream cone and I look amazing, but you can have, students can be whatever they want to be and then give you their verbal response to an answer. And then once you hit stop, you hit finish, that is already sent to whatever Google Drive folder that you have it set up to. So there's verbal response, and then it goes. Get this app. This is Move It. It's going to give you little breaks throughout for students who are on their computers a lot doing some work, and have them install this movement app. It just, you can set it up for every like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 17 minutes, whatever you need. And then it gives you like little activities just to remind yourself to get moving. Our pre-writing also has to be accessible for our students. This is all free interactive graphic organizers that are already created. Don't recreate the wheel when you have them all here. A student can use that pre-writing in an accessible way by having these PDFs that they can just use and fill in and save them. We have to think about that pre-writing process as well, because if a student can't read their own handwriting, they're never going to be able to do that writing for sure. And then mic note, this is the last one, and I think we're going to be right on time. Mic note. So this is kind of like the live scribe head. This is where sometimes we are scribing for our students when there's really not a need. But I understand that different schools do not allow recording, so make sure you have those conversations. But this is simple. This is you add this a Google app that's free. All I have to do is hit this, and as the teacher is talking, I'm the student, and I may talk about monkey. I don't know why I'm going to talk about monkey, and then we're talking, and I'm going to talk about food now, and then how this is crazy right now. And then once the teacher is done talking, the student, all I have to do, I've taken notes what made sense to me as a student, and all I have to do is click, talk about food now, and then it goes right to that note. And so now those notes is what makes sense to that student. So it's a good way for you. We don't have to scribe for our students. That's really not a way for students to be independent, beneficial at all. This is a quick resource on tools that I love to check out. Make sure you check out this video. It's 10:56, so I'm like a minute, and I've got a next session. So I'm like sweating. Make sure you check this out. Don't be a candle blower. Tweet this out. Watch this video and tweet it for me and just say, don't be a candle blower. It's just about making sure our students have accommodations and we're not doing everything for them. So this is me. Contact me anytime. This is the handout link. So if you don't get the handout link now, make sure you go to that grid that's set up for this conference, and I will make sure that link's on there for you. But the QR code will take you there. Thank you so much. I'm going to breathe, maybe find a glass of wine later that I survived this. But reach out to me anytime. There are so many more things to benefit your students, but make it accessible. Allow students to be independent even during this continuous learning. Have so much fun the rest of the time. And I'm going to be heading over to an Edcamp. So thank you so much.